All right, hey guys, you're seeing plenty of other people with these new Viking bags made for the scout and the road. I'm want to give you a couple of things, right? So I've already had the hard saddlebags. So those were, I think, 40 liter. These are 25. The difference is substantial. I think what you don't see in a lot of that is how this is all cut out. Now, why is it cut out? It's for the shocks. So when I was using the larger bags, I had to account for that somehow. And the only way to do that, because the fender is bobbed and the holes into the frame are so far forward. Again, the Viking bags, the larger bags come with these they call them the fat brackets, FAT brackets. They're nice and substantial, super heavy weight. And so I don't have one with me, but you know, if I lined it up with a hole instead of coming down because the front of the bag was angling, I had to take that front one and then move it towards the side. Again, did that have a big difference? I don't think so. I used stainless steel bolts. I had wide washers across all three attachment points in the fat brackets. And then the rear bracket went straight down. And again, solid stainless steel, the wide washers, it was pretty robust, but I still, when I first mounted them, I hadn't correctly accounted for the shocks coming in and out. And as a result of it, I had chewed up just on the left side only, so on the shift side, the clutch side, had chewed out a little bit, so the fake leather, faux leather had come out. So anyways, these bags do account for the shock. So I mean, that's a nice thing. That's going to make it easy for you guys. But I wanted to share a few other things just based on what I have learned with these other Viking bags that I've had on the different bikes, and then looking at this one. First, the fit and finish of Viking bags, not the greatest, but there really isn't a better name in town when it comes to versatility as far as, even just the selection that is available to you. So that's a big plus there. But the locks are hit and miss whether or not they work. I've tested these a couple of times here and they seem to be working. It's hot as Hades down here, so I'm sweating a little bit on the bag. But some of these other things, right? I mean, so the glue, you could see it here. It just looks trashy, right? These little, it's like, all right, whatever. They got to connect it, so not a big deal. It is what it is, right? And you see the little spots back here. They cut this strap right there instead of bringing it all the way down like they did these two inside ones. I mean, why? What did you really save versus the hassle of that just eventually, fraying off and being kind of nasty? Anyways, these are minor complaints. It's something to be aware of, though. If you're the kind of person who really cares. I mean, me, I'm out there riding. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Well, that's not going to stay open. All right, so let me show you a couple of other things that came about, right? So these are the brackets that are going to go into the side of the bike, right? They got these little button top thingies. Other people who are installing them, oh, it snapped off. Well, it's because Viking it is what it is, right? So a couple of deals, right? So you got these flat heads. They'll go into the frame. That's great. You're going to have the spacer in there. So that's going to be nice. I had come up with spacers of my own, very similar to these. I'd painted them black, and that's how I was going into that metal piece along the side of the fender to make sure the hard saddlebags weren't getting too close. I needed to have enough space. Again, I had to account for the shocks. So the spacers were good in that sense. So it's nice to see they included those. These little button tops are going to go right here into these things. On the back, you'll see it's nice and smooth. So how did they get those in there? It's hard to tell. I sure as hell hope they did something more than just glue. But, I went to all the effort. I'm using the Hemisphere Performance quick release passenger seat. Like, if I go to all that effort, that's one thing that bugged me about the hard saddlebags is it was such a pain in the ass to get them off if I wanted to just slim down the look and the ride. So while these will go into the frame and I'm not likely to take these off super easy, I did go out and get myself some wing nuts. So when it comes to so I'll mount these on the side of the bike. The holes on the back of the bag over here. Stuff out of the way a little bit. So these holes on the back of the bag. I see I have the wrong one. All right, so you're going to have these 2 pegs there. They're gonna mount right there. So as this is already mounted, the bag will slip right over the top of that. That's great. Okay, cool. Then on the inside, I don't know if you could see it here in this light, kind of shitty, but anyway, so you got these 2 posts hanging out there, and so that's what you're supposed to use these buttons. I mean, look how deep those are. It's considerably deep, which just tells me, as I was looking at it, those are clearly not getting on there anywhere near as deep as those posts are sitting out. So it's a couple of things. One, complete waste. I wouldn't rely on those to save a thing. But if I want to keep the quick release part of it going, that's why I'm going to use these here. So I got myself some split locking washers, and then these wing nuts. So I'm just going to be able to bloop, put them right on there, tighten them down, check them from time to time to make sure they're solid. They're going to be a lot more solid than these, but when the time comes and I want to take the bags off, I'm just cruising around the town, hitting the bar, whatever it might be, I can take these on and off pretty quick if I needed to. So a couple of things to be thinking about before, if you're going to look at something like this. Again, I like the fact that it's going to give me that quick release-ish type vibe, which is, again, that was the one thing about the hard bags that I've been using that I just didn't like it. They were on and they were on. And while that typically wouldn't bug me too much, I'm not doing a lot of long rides on that bike because I've got another bike I take for longer rides. So I think this vibe is going to work out for me. All right, so that said, I did also look for, another thing I've just found is that any hardware that Viking provides tends to be just garbage hardware. So I was looking to get some stainless steel replacements for these. These are 55 millimeters long. So they're M8 at a 1 1/4 thread pitch, but they're about 55 millimeters long, and the only ones I could find were 50. And so because I hadn't actually tried getting them onto the bike yet with the spacer, I didn't know if I could get away with only using 50. So I didn't replace these yet. But if you've got a hardware store, my local Ace, they've got replacements like this. It's where I found the wing nuts and all, but it's not a huge selection because it's a smaller town. If you've got a larger selection at your local shop, I would just replace those as fast as you can. When I get back up to where I keep the Octane, there's a couple of hardware shops up there with a much wider selection, so I'll grab some replacements up there if I don't find them before that, and then I'll just pull these off and then put them back on with a more trustworthy screw. So take that into account, if you will, but certainly consider something like this, or even a plastic version that'll give you a little more grip if you wanted to. That might be kind of cool. I was looking for those, but we just didn't have any of them local. So that said, I'm going to get to putting these on the bike here in the next couple of days, and then I'll do some shots afterwards just so you guys can see those on the bike and kind of how it was mounted after the fact. All right, cool.